And welcome to another day of the Drinking Trends Drinks by the Dram Gin Advent Calendar Challenge. We've accelerated it even further, so we're going to do 3 gins today. First gin is Rutte Gin from the Netherlands. It's a dry celery gin. And this is very popular in the States at the moment. It's 43% ABV, so again it's quite punchy. It's got your traditional botanical batch in there, obviously with the addition of celery. So on the nose, unsurprisingly, there's a little celery and what you'd expect to have. Clean juniper, it's quite fresh, quite bright. And the celery really comes in quite a lot more on the palate. So, as with everything else, that goes in over a glass full of ice. Oh, the celery on the finish is really hanging around actually. Let's see what it's like in a gin and tonic. As with all the other gin and tonics, glass full of ice, lime wedge and Schweppes. So, cheers. Here's to Rutte Celery Dry Celery Gin or Celery Dry Gin, 43% ABV from Holland. Actually, that's lovely. So, Rutte comes from the De Kuyper family who make all the liqueurs. Apparently they've been making gin for about 170 years. A lot of that would be traditional Dutch gin, Hollands gin, otherwise known as Jenever. This is fantastic. There's just enough hint of celery in it to make it a bit different, to make it quite interesting. Next gin, we're going back to the capital of gin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pickering gin from Scotland at 42% ABV. As you will have noticed, talking about the gin so far, a lot of them are distilled in Scotland. This is distilled in Edinburgh. If I can get it open. Yeah, there we go. And so the Pickering Gin Distillery in Edinburgh is the first dedicated gin distillery to open in Edinburgh for 150 years. It's quite a recent opening, and this is not their classic dry gin. This is their 1947 gin, which is based apparently on a recipe that was created in Bombay in 1947. And this has got the addition of quite a lot of dry spices, so there's going to be cinnamon, clove, that style of gin, which you're getting very much on the nose. It doesn't quite come across as a 43% gin on the nose. It's actually quite softer, a lot softer than I expected. Wow. Okay, on the palate, those spices are really, really punchy. So this is something that'd be quite interesting in, I'd say, in a red snapper. Actually, just while we're on the subject of red snapper, the Rutte Celery Dry Gin is very strongly recommended to be tried in a red snapper. For those of you who don't know what the red snapper is, it's essentially Bloody Mary, but instead of making it with vodka, you make it with gin. So here we have back to Pickering's. Pickering is very popular with bartenders at the moment. The classic Pickering dry gin has got some dry botanicals in there, and then in the 1947 recipe they're very much beefed up. So clove, cinnamon, star anise, nutmeg, that style of botanical flavours in there. Oh, it's quite warm, quite enriching, quite warming and vibrant and bright. I'd kind of bring it back to the Salcombe gin that we had on day number 1, the start point, is that kind of winter warm style of gin. Very much using those Indian spices. Yeah, clove, a lot of cinnamon on this. A lot of cinnamon, so if you like that style of botanical, it's definitely the gin for you. Third gin we have today, Conker Dorset Dry Gin. Now, obviously London Dry is an appellation. Dorset Dry is copyrighted, but it's not yet an appellation. You're going to have to go some way to get that far down the road of gin recognition. Dorset is a new distillery. It is a small micro distillery on the back streets of Bournemouth, and they use Macedonian juniper, so it's going to be that very resinous, piney juniper. They also use local botanicals, elderberries, samphire, and gorse flowers. Gorse flowers give a very kind of almost a coconutty type of aroma. you can definitely get the Samphire in this. Is very, very interesting on the nose. So again, it's getting back to the idea of terroir, getting a little bit of local Dorset. Apparently it's the only gin distillery in Dorset. Ooh, that is super interesting. You can kind of get the elderberries a bit, but you're definitely getting the Samphire, which is got a kind of slightly salty coastal vegetal quality going on. So, what's it like in a G&T? Well, at 40% ABV, that's surprising actually, because it packs a lot more flavour than you'd expect for a 40% ABV gin. The keen-eyed amongst you will have noticed that we are today using a lighter form of Schweppes in the older bottle. But as you will also notice, we've moved location. I'm very, very kindly being hosted this evening by my sister Emer and her wonderful husband Ed. Thank you very much for having me, and hence the new location in the background. But anyway, back to the gin. It's a lot more harmonious than I would have thought. The celery sticks out in the Rutte, the cinnamon sticks out in the Pickering in this. The Samphire definitely stuck out on the individual nosing and tasting, but when it's combined with the tonic, it's actually a lot more harmonious with those. It's yeah, I wouldn't try to pick a favourite out of these three. I'd say that definitely what we get this evening in all of these is a very clear sort of unusual botanical in each of them, and also it's the first time that we've had three clear gins in quite a while, so I'm very happy to be back at the safe ground of that. So Rutte, all in all, I would say excellent. Definitely try it on Red Snapper. Pickering, the 1947, very good indeed if you like that dry, warm spice. And even if you don't, it's still rated as pretty damn good. And Conker, when I read about the Samphire in it, I wasn't really sure how that was going to go. When I tasted it on its own, I wasn't sure. But, excuse me, that's a 3 gin burn. Out of all of them, is the one that surprised me the most, and in a very pleasant way. So in the meantime, I'm going to say cheers, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy gin drinking.